Hey everyone, Ian Foster here, and I am so grateful that you have taken this amazing step of downloading the Client Empowerment Contract Checklist. This is going to help you create an amazing client contract that will help your clients feel safe so that they are in a nice, safe container with you. You're protected, they're protected, and you and your clients can co-create for many years to come while they keep coming back to make transformation in their lives and in the lives of others. Again, I'm Ian Foster. I'm grateful you've taken this step. It's an important first step. I'm an attorney. I've been practicing for 25 years. I spent most of my career in government before I started specializing in the transformational industry. And now I take all of that inside knowledge from government, all of that inside experience that a lot of us don't get, and I'm passing that along to all of you, coaches, healers, transformational leaders. Let's make the difference that we were meant to make in the world. And I'm so happy you're here. Make sure you check your email, check your inbox, your spam folders, your junk folder, whatever you need to check. And my email address is ian@legalempowermentcoaching.com. So if you need to add that to your address book, that's totally fine. Make sure you do that so that you get your checklist and the follow-up emails. They're going to help you get the most use out of this checklist. Now, speaking of getting the most use out of this checklist, I want to go through it with you for a few minutes. So if you have a few minutes, please go through it with me right now. If you don't have a few minutes, make sure you bookmark this page and come back to it so that we can still go through it together. Because I want to make sure this checklist is not something that just gets thrown out, put in the shredder, literally, metaphorically. The whole point is to help you do something with it. So let's make sure that we are all getting the most use out of this checklist together. So I'm going to pull it up here. This will take just a second, and we're going to go through it. All right, so the first few pages are more of an introduction about who I am and why I'm doing this. Make sure you read the important legal disclaimer, right? I'm an attorney, so I have to always put that in there. But let's go through the checklist. You'll see I have this number 1 here. There's going to be 2, 3, 4, and 5. There's 5 main categories. These are the main things that you need to include in any good client contract. And you can use this checklist. Maybe you have an existing template that you're allowed to use and modify. Maybe you're looking into buying a template and you're not sure what to get. Maybe you have an existing contract that's working okay for you. Maybe you don't. Maybe you need to write it for yourself. But the whole point here is to make sure you have a good client contract that's no more than a couple pages long. Doesn't have to be 17 pages of legalese. In fact, it should not be 17 pages of legalese. I want you to have a good client contract that's no more than a couple pages long, has the main points written in plain language in your own words. Because if you understand it and your client understands it, then you both get to make empowered choices and create a safe space together. And it's going to be legally much more effective if it's that way. So the first part of this, protecting yourself, right? You do want to make sure you're protecting yourself in your contract. So description of your services. Describe what people get when they purchase from you. Now, this sounds obvious, of course I would say that, right? But I'm emphasizing it because it really is that easy to forget. It's one of the main mistakes I see people make. Then, if there are limitations on your services, make sure you're clear about that. Make sure that you are telling people that I'm not providing legal advice, accounting advice, therapy, medicine, stuff like that, and they should still seek out their own licensed professional. And a basic liability waiver. So I want you to ensure that your clients waive any right to hold you liable for harm. Now, why would you do that? That is not to scare people away. This is necessary because the world is full of things that happen, and if people feel harmed, then the law deems them to be harmed. And there are hundreds of ways that people might feel harmed completely unintentionally, even if you do nothing wrong. And if you were held liable for every possible feeling of harm, whether or not you did anything wrong, you would never be able to help anyone and be visible and vibrant and run your business anymore. The second group of things, so we talked about protecting yourself. Now let's talk about protecting your clients. So the main thing here is client confidentiality. We need people to trust us, right? If they don't trust us, they don't get vulnerable. They don't tell us what they're going through. Whether you're a coach or a healer or however you classify yourself, you need your clients to be honest and vulnerable with you. Otherwise, you can't help them. Look, I'm an attorney. I get it. If people are not comfortable with me, if they're not vulnerable and honest with me as a lawyer, I can't help them. I literally can't help them. So if you're going to promise some client confidentiality, then say that. Tell them you're promising them some confidentiality. You want them to trust you. And then state any legal limitations on client confidentiality. You might want to make it clear that you might have to reveal their information in case of if you get a government subpoena, or if a court needs to subpoena you, or if, you suspect that someone has broken the law. Put any limitations on there if there are any. This way, your clients and potential clients get to make informed decisions about what they share with you. If you're going to be recording anything, this is especially critical in groups. Make sure you get people's consent for the recording. Again, this is to protect them, to make sure they're aware of what they're getting into so they can make an empowered choice about whether they want to appear on the recording and what they're going to reveal on the recording. And then if they're interacting in a group, make sure people promise that they're going to be on their good behavior, right? You want people to be their best selves with one another so that they encourage one another, support one another, respect one another. And you need to have the right to, on the very rare occasion that someone is not supportive and not respectful and disrupting the group, you need to have the right to remove them from the group on the very rare occasion that that happens. I will tell you, if you work hard to put out good energy to attract the right people, that is not going to happen very often because you're going to attract great people who want to work together. The third category has to do with protecting your IP, your intellectual property. Presumably, as you work with people, whether you're running an online program, providing one-on-one services, there's going to be some of your content and your IP involved. So state clearly who owns that content and that IP when you provide your services. And then when it comes to permissible use, explain what your clients are allowed to do or not to do. Maybe they're allowed to use their content, your content in their business and personal lives, but not share it with others. Maybe they're allowed to share it with others, but only with permission. Maybe they're allowed to use it for inspiration as long as they credit you. Just write down what feels in alignment with you and your clients. There's no right or wrong answer. It's your IP. You get to decide what you do with it. Just do what feels in alignment for you. And then to the extent there are any consequences for misuse of the IP or sharing it without permission, maybe state what those consequences are. The fourth category has to do with protecting your money. Of course, we want to serve. We're here to serve. That's our mission. But we have to earn a decent lifestyle to do that. If we're not earning enough to make a good living, we can't keep helping people. We can't live our mission. We can't have the freedom we need to advance our mission in the world. So make sure you have good payment terms. Just describe in plain language your own payment policy. Do you have a full pay plan, a 3-pay, 6-pay, 10-pay, 12-pay, whatever it might be? Describe your payment options and do it just in very clear, plain language. If you have a refund policy, state what it is. Maybe you don't have a refund policy, so you might state there's no refunds. Maybe you give refunds within 30 days. Maybe whatever your refund policy is, again, just state it in your own words in plain language. And just a quick thing, and I'll get to this again as we go through it. Don't think too hard about the language you use when you do this stuff. Just make it clear. Clear, plain language, that's all it needs to be. Don't think too hard about what you're saying there. If you have a guarantee, whether it's a conditional guarantee or an unconditional guarantee, of course, make sure you're stating that clearly as well. And then finally, our fifth category, you want to make sure you're protecting your business. The big thing here is to proofread and edit whatever it is you draft. After you write it, you're going to think it looks great because, of course, you think it looks great. You just wrote it, right? So make sure you take a deep breath, put it aside for a day or two, come back and read it with fresh eyes after you've slept on it. You're going to find mistakes and things you could say better. You can make it clearer and in even better plain language. If you have friends who are willing to help, have your friends help you do that as well. Make sure people read it and agree to it. One of the biggest mistakes I see is people have these amazing contracts. Maybe they paid a lawyer, maybe they wrote it, but they have a great contract. But the best contract means nothing. Totally worthless if your clients don't read it and don't agree to it. So make sure that however it is people sign up with you, that there is a mechanism that you can verify that people read the contract and agreed to it. Otherwise, it means something. And then keep it simple, right? I've seen a lot of examples lately of 15-page, 17-page, 20-page contracts full of complicated legalese that even myself as an attorney that I have understanding, right? And if I have understanding it, your clients are not going to understand it. If I can't understand it, they're not going to understand it. So a long, complicated contract with legalese doesn't help anyone, doesn't help you, doesn't help your clients, doesn't help the people they're trying to, helps nobody. It's going to cost you sales because people will get turned off when they see it and they will not buy from you when they see that complicated contract. They're going to wonder what it is you're hiding. So keep it to a couple pages, write it in your own words, in plain, simple language. It does not have to be fancy, right? It does not have to be fancy. Plain, simple language is more than good enough. Don't don't think about it too hard. Don't overthink it. Just sit there and type it out in your own words. And make sure you give people the opportunity to ask questions and answer those questions, right? And if your contract is short, simple, and understandable, they're going to have fewer questions and you're going to have an easier time answering the questions that they have. So again, that's just to go through it and make sure that we have a good idea of what's involved in the checklist, that we can all make good use of it together so that's not wasted. And now there's going to be a link below. We have an upcoming workshop the second Saturday in October. I believe it's Saturday, October 12th. Starts at 9 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. You can check that out, the link below. That's where you can come if you want more than just this checklist. If you want my guidance while we spend the day writing your contract together, we're going to do this in an amazing heart center community. We already have a ton of people signed up in the coaching and healing industry. These are folks who care about one another, they care about their clients, they care about the legal aspect of their business, and they care about making contracts that sound like them in plain language that are going to create safe spaces for everybody involved so we can co-create together. So if you want, check out our upcoming workshop, Saturday, October 12th. We are going to write our contracts together. It's going to be awesome. You're going to get feedback from me in real time. You're going to get feedback from your peers in real time. It's a loving, supporting environment. So get ready to show up with love and support for everybody there. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate it. Make good use of that checklist.